Hi guys, this is Full Centre for runitonce.com, and this is the third of a probable four-parter on my win in the 1R1A on Pokerstars from a little while back. I think this is pretty much where we left it from the end of the second part, and I noticed in one of the comments that maybe a couple of people wanted to see more explanation as to sort of decent hold cards folded, that I maybe rushed through a little bit too quickly in the last part. So I'll, if I see anything pretty, I'll look at why I folded it and maybe if I had any other options. So here straight away, I'm going to fold. I definitely could 3-bet this kind of a hand, but I get the feeling that most kind of regs are likely to just 4-bet near 100% from their under the gun opens against this kind of 3-bet, just because of how few hands I want to really be 3-bet getting in 42 big blinds. So yeah, I mean, I could 3-bet with the intention of 5-betting and hope that he isn't stubbed enough to 6-bet shove something like king queen and maybe sort of mid pairs, which I think most people are fairly on the stubborn side here. So yeah, I could 3-bet and probably 5-bet. I mean, we do obviously sometimes get called rather than 4-bet, and okay, occasionally we get a fold here. So there are definitely some merits to me 3-betting and proceeding. Maybe even if I am intending on folding to a 4-bet, it's still fine to 3-bet here, and I do that some percentage. But on this situation, I decided to let it go. I'll just have a look at this guy's EP opens just to see if maybe that deterred me at all or should have encouraged me. Okay, so fairly standard stats, I guess. So EP fairly large. I mean this is kind of, let's see what the top 22% of hands is and see what the worst hand in that range is. So what is the most likely thing we're going to see against us? So something like this. Maybe a few more suited connectors, and maybe if we get rid of maybe some of these I think that's probably a more likely, maybe 10-8 suited, 9-7 suited. Yeah, I guess somewhere. I think that's the kind of range that we're trying to attack here. And maybe like the outer parts of this could just fold to my 3-bet. Maybe the next sort of phase in, like king jack offs and queen jack offs and king 10 suited are probably more likely to 4-bet. Maybe like a king 10 suited and stuff like that could be peeling me, which we don't hate too much. And then probably the small pairs either fold or peel, unless they're intending on 4-betting to 6-bet shove, which again is not impossible, or isn't sort of, I wouldn't assume that definitely isn't happening. Maybe it's a little spewy, but yeah. So I do think that we're likely to kind of get peeled and attacked, but if by hands that he doesn't want to kind of defend. So that's my reason for kind of folding there, maybe slightly more often than not, but I think we obviously do need to have some bluffs there if we do want to be sort of 3-betting our value hands. So anyway, I'll move on. So again, here we fold the 5s to this end of the gun open. He's only got 25 big blinds behind. Even though when I do flat here, it reps pretty big, I think that he's not deep enough and there's too many short stacks behind for us to try and kind of hood flat the 5s. So I let it go. Some people overpeel here. We're getting 6-1, so I think we could, but I think I'm just kind of more against getting myself into trouble with these kind of hands. But anyway, definitely something that I see probably a good percentage of people doing, but I'm still not not going down that route. Could open the 10-7 off here. I think I probably should. We can probably just about call this reshove here. Again, here, I think this is a really good spot for me to 3-bet King Jack. I think it just forces him to shove or fold, and that's definitely a good thing to be doing against his mid-position opens. And if we do have to call this guy, then so be it. Pretty close against this guy. Maybe this is the reason I folded, that I would kind of have to call a shove. I think with our stack, though, we can take that on and not feel too bad about it. I think he's going to have a lot of things we're flipping against, so yeah, I think I prefer 3-bet folding to this guy and calling these two in this spot. So I think that's a bit nitty for me. Here we open the ace-10 off and get flattered in the cutoff with a stack of 24 big blinds behind. I don't expect to be ahead much here. I think there are a couple of suited broadways he could be peeling, but I don't think he's going to be really going out of his way to peel much worse than like a 9-10, 8-9 suited perhaps. I think that with this stack size, it's probably a better plan for him to be 3-bet folding those than flatting those. And I just expect him to maybe feel like he doesn't want to induce like a ace-jack, ace-queen perhaps in this spot. I think it's cut pretty close with him with ace-queen here. I think I'd probably be 3-bet going with it. But perhaps a kind of ace-jack, king-queen suited, pocket 8s, pocket 7s kind of hand, I think I'm assuming at the moment. So we're not doing too bad, but I think we're probably around the 40% mark. Not that that really matters this shallow. And on a board like this, I just don't expect there to be a hand he's going to fold. I think he's aware that this is going to hit him pretty hard, and me betting here is just going to result in me having to double barrel turns or surrender more chips, so I just decided to check. He checks it back, which I think probably follows the line of maybe a pocket 8. I'd expect his king queens and queen jacks to bet in case I was intending on bluff check raising the flop, and then he can just obviously has an easy shove. The same thing with his sort of king jacks and king 10s and 10 jacks if he has peeled those. I think that betting to shove over a check raise is the way to go. So maybe I don't know if he is checking those back, but I feel I just don't expect him to be peeling. I guess like the most likely hand here is like a 9-10 suited kind of hand to peel and not bet this flop. Whether like I think all the queens and gut shots are betting. Maybe. Again, yeah, I don't see why he wouldn't bet to shove 10 jack. Maybe he could be checking back a trap, but I would again expect him to be betting the flop with the same reasons that I'm probably check folding or check raising. I guess there are a couple of check call hands, but maybe against his stack size he'd expect me to bet those. So yeah, kind of surprised he doesn't bet the flop, and I don't really know what to put him on other than maybe a 9. I decided to check the turn. I think given everything I've said on what I make of his range on the flop, I think I prefer a bet here, but then it kind of gets a bit close as to what I want to do on the river. It's probably hard to get to bet more than 2 streets, but I think that probably betting here to check and let him bluff is probably better than checking here to let him bluff the turn, and then we don't get the river action. So I think betting and checking is probably the way to go. We do turn another ace, and I go for just over half pot. I think if I go sort of 20k plus, it pretty much screams an ace. Whereas you could feel I'm trying to push him off a kind of king jack, 10 jack, king 10 kind of hand, and therefore maybe hero me with a 9 or pocket 8s, but he does fold. So kind of don't really know what range this is, but luckily for us we turn and river good. I get a walk here with the 10-8 off. Here we pick up jacks, and this guy opens. I think this is a pretty good situation for us to induce a light 4-bet and shove. Okay, when he does 4-bet call us here, we're pretty much. I mean, are we deep enough? If I make it sort of 23.8 or something here, 22.8, and he clicks it back to 50, I think it would be silly for me to do anything other than shove. Or if he clicks it back to like, maybe I have some rope if he makes it 40, for me to make it like 70 or 65, something like this. So I think that I can probably 3-bet and then 5-bet induce and maybe get some spew depending on him. So I'll just get his stats up and see if I think that's a good idea. Or other than that, we have a pretty good stack, and against a value range that wants to get in 38 big blinds, we're not doing amazingly with jacks. We're not doing terribly with the way probably this tournament and the game's obviously played. But I'll just have a look at his stats. Okay, and we're back, and seemingly fairly aggressive, I mean fairly standard I guess. Raise first from I think mid position, so he's raising a lot of hands, peeling a lot of 3-bets, or some 3-bets and not 4-bet yet from 9 examples, so 5 folds and 4 peels so far against 3-bets. So yeah, I think that probably 3-betting here is okay, but I do like to have a bit of a plan when we get 4-bet, and I don't think we really would know what, well, we're not going to want to fold, but like if we're going to want to continue inducing, or if we really want to get 4-bet, or if we're just going to want to call to a 4-bet. So yeah, I think we're going to really kind of put ourselves into more ugly spots by 3-betting here against somebody that maybe peels more and doesn't 4-bet so often. But that's definitely an option, but I do decide to just take the kind of passive stack protecting route here and just defend. Not a bad flop. Easy check call. Pretty good turn, which he checks back. I think when he checks back, he pretty much never has a queen unless he's opened something like queen. I mean, he could check back like a queen 9 suited here, expecting a lot of the hands for me to call a double barrel to be hands dominating him, and then with his plan of calling the river. He could also have every other pocket pair, maybe some 7-8 suited kind of hand, which he's intending on calling a river bluff in inverted commas, or river bet. We river again pretty good, and people aren't so good at folding the full house, so maybe any pocket pair is quite likely to call here when we rep pretty much a queen and that's it. So we go for about 40-something% of pot, try and give him some rope to maybe even hero call a kind of ace high. I think like my 9-10, Jack 9, Jack 10 hands are all maybe check calling. I could even be floating with a sort of King Jack, King 10 kind of hand, maybe with a backdoor. So I think that he could definitely hero here with any pair and maybe even an ace high. So that's kind of why I go for this sizing, I think, to give him, if I go like 60% or something here, I think it looks too value-y, whereas if I go just 25k, we can have maybe a few more bluffs in his eyes, and he does give it up. Here we open the queen jack off and just take it down, and here I 3-bet just under 22,000. Apologies for this, I'm not quite sure why we can't see my raise sizes, but they are here, so hopefully you can see that okay. But when it's kind of an interesting bet size, I'll try and keep mentioning it. I think somebody mentioned that in the comments. So here, yeah, we just make it 22k and maybe give some ropes for some of these guys to do something. And obviously, it's going to be pretty hard for this guy to call, so no reason to make it any bigger. I think that this now looks pretty strong though, and this is why 3-bet folding to this guy earlier in the video would have been a pretty nice play, because I think that any hand that he's probably opening from this stack is going to be pretty keen to 4-bet shove over me here. And maybe he's a little short, but yeah, I think that was a mistake. I've forgotten exactly what hand I didn't 3-bet fold, but